What did I say the name of this episode was?
Celebration Nation.
Yeah.
Did you see that meme that was like, the world, we're falling apart, we're on fire. Actors, come see my Zoom play.
I love it when I get on this camera. I never look like the struggle that I have been through. I moved on from vodka this week to Hennessy Pure White.
Oh my God.
So that's how real shit has gotten.
Sounds appropriate, honestly.
But Stacey Abrams is that bitch though.
She is that bitch.
For real though.
For real, for real. Do I start or you start?
I just got a CNN alert to my phone that was like, Donald Trump wants to sue his way to a second term. Here's why he can't. Or something like that.
Welcome to Routine Podcast Progress. And then my subconscious was like, I know this.
I just realized that like I'm wearing my stud in my nose instead of a hoop, and Tupac is also wearing his stud instead of a hoop because like same boy.
We're here to talk about all the...
You heard to talk about
good faking babes.
Good faking babes. You made me feel.
We're a podcast here. What is it?
Stacey Abrams is that bitch. Cause that's what I'm there. Also, like, seriously, fucking come see my Zoom play.
Boom. Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Nick.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Richard, and welcome to Routine Progress,
a podcast where we talk about all the difficult and desirable things you hopefully want to hear about.
Yes, but we do not tell you how to feel about those things.
No, because we're not exactly experts.
Not exactly.
No, we're just here on a journey to better ourselves and the world around us.
Yes, exactly. And we plan to do that through deeper conversations.
And reason-based logic.
And just all around good vibes for everybody. Good vibes.
Good vibes. Haha. Cool. So what are we talking about today?
So, of course, this week we were going to be talking about the results of the 2020 election and everything historical that's going on with that. After that, we are going to jump into our cultural review, which is very close to heart for Nick and I this week. So we're going to be discussing the state of live theater in the age of COVID-19. And after that, as always, Nick and I get to tell you what we're on one about, man.
Oh, I'm like buzzing inside with my on one.
Well, I can't wait to hear this. I'm excited.
Hey,
got you all pissed off this week.
I'm not pissed. I'm just like, I'm on one. On one.
Respect. I respect that.
Let's just, get right into it.
Let's jump into it, man. So we, of course, are going to be jumping into the 2020 election results. Let's put this into sort of a historical context for us. What numbers and statistics, which is Nick's favorite thing. What number and statistics do you have for us as far as this election? Just frame it for us in terms of like what actually just happened.
Yeah, I feel like the Steve Kornacki of this podcast.
Yo, we're going to get you one of those special boards real soon, I promise.
Yeah, where I can write numbers and figures and do math.
Yeah, move it around, change the lights, you know.
Yeah.
Cause a little panic nationally, you know.
So in terms of some of the figures, I mean, this was the highest turnout of any election in history. Over 150 million people did vote, which we correctly predicted in our last podcast. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Biden got about 75 million votes. And Trump has gotten about 71 million votes so far in the popular vote, which is a larger margin than Clinton got over Trump in 2016. And but both have historically high turnout from each parties, which is pretty impressive just for how important this election was for everyone.
Well, I think it's impressive across the board, right? Like I think in previous research that focused on voter turnout, few years back, I think the US ranked like 30 out of 35. So for that sort of turnout to be happening right now in 2020 is a great example of how things are moving forward in the right direction as far as voting goes, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than it's been. I mean, there's still 380 million people in the country, which is like, okay, but higher is better than
Nick's not calling you out, but he's calling you
lower.
out.
And so in terms of flipped states, Biden flipped Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, and potentially Georgia, compared to 2016, which is and Georgia for the first time since I think 1992 is going to be flipped. Like everyone is basically saying that Georgia is going to be flipped, and that'll be the first time since 1992. Arizona hasn't been flipped since I think the 80s or something. So it's all pretty impressive.
It is super impressive, and I think that more than anything, it speaks to I sort of really hate it when they've called this election the battle for the soul of America. But in many ways, man, that's so true. And it's so good to see. It's so heartwarming almost to see all of these states go blue. And in my mind, when they talk about rebuilding a blue wall and things like that, I don't buy into those sorts of gimmicks, to be honest with you guys. And to be honest with you, Nick, like I think that more than anything, these states flipping and turning blue, especially states like Georgia, like I'm from Mississippi. I know what happens in Georgia. Like so for states like that to turn blue, I think it just shows that there's a lot of people out there, no matter what end of the spectrum you actually fall on, that are looking for more unison, that are looking for more harmony, people that are sick of the divisiveness and the hatred that has been so rampant, especially in 2020. So more than being a grand flag for the Democrats and the blue side, I think it just speaks to the heart of America, and it's a really tired and heavy heart right now. And I think that showed in voter turnout.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the criticism I see is, they're like, oh, Biden's not like a good candidate. But I think this election was more just about not Trump for a lot of people, especially. I mean, people don't want to be in a country where we're constantly like attached to the news 24/7 when every other day it's a scandal on top of a scandal on top of a scandal. And I mean, also, this is a big cultural issue. I mean, Atlanta is the fastest growing city in the country. So that and urban areas traditionally have a lot more Democratic voters because of diversity, because of inclusivity, because of just kind of natural wokeness of being around more than just a small community of people of like you. So I think it is much more of a cultural vote in terms of, and same why Texas was, rumored to be turning blue, Florida, just because these are places that have much bigger city areas and higher education, to be frank.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think we talk about the state of wokeness on this podcast a lot, and shows again just the state of the mind of most people in the world right now who are just more than anything tired. Like there's a lot to take away when you're tuning into these news cycles every day and just seeing so much again divisiveness in our nation, and a lot of people just want to get rid of that. And I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. So another thing I think that we should do in regard to this historic election is I want to quickly run down a list of firsts that Vice President-elect Kamala Harris now checks off with this current nomination for her. Can we do that?
I mean, first, how exciting is it that we have a Black South Asian woman as a VP elect? Like that is so satisfying just to see and to hear, and a direction that we're going in.
No, truly. I mean, the factor of representation alone, like seeing her up on that stage in that beautiful white pantsuit that they found really quickly. They hopefully had
She's had that for
yeah, yeah,
months
yeah. I'm
sitting
like,
in her closet.
and by that I mean that she's had prepared for a really long time now.
Yeah, she got that when she moved into the Senate. She was like, just
taking off my white suit.
Her first
No,
direction
that's
to her
amazing. Watching
assistant.
her, it was such an incredible feeling. And seeing those young Black men and women up on the stage with her, like her nieces, it was just a beautiful moment just to take that in. So much. I haven't felt that hopeful in a while looking um, at the state of politics in America. So just to jump into this list pretty quickly, we're going to run down first for Kamala Harris. She is the first, of course, the first woman to be elected to the office of vice president. She is the first woman of color to hold the office, as her parents are Black and South Asian, Jamaican and Indian to be specific. She is the first graduate of an HBCU to hold this office, specifically Howard University. So shout out to Howard. I know Howard is like, yo, like, first of all, there are people who are watching this podcast right now that know that I grew up in the Baltimore area, and like, I know what homecoming at Howard is like. So I know what homecoming at Howard is going to be like for the next homecoming. And I just hope that they are on 10 as far as like celebration goes, man, because they deserve it, and it's major. She on that topic is the first member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's an AKA, and in the South where I'm from, like the whole sorority and fraternity culture is huge, and AKAs are one of the most well-known sororities there is out there. And to see the fields of pink and green during her celebration, it's just really epic, man. Like when you think of the fact that there are women like Stacey Abrams, who graduated from HBCU, and then we have Kamala, who graduated from HBCU. There's just so much representation there, and it's so endearing and it's so heartwarming, because I know that all of those students seeing these people making these power moves, I know they feel that they have a path to that same power. So it's amazing to see that. Her husband, Douglas, is it Emhoff? Am I saying his last name correctly? Emhoff?
I don't know.
He's going to be America's first second gentleman. So we welcome him with open arms as America's first second gentleman. Kamala will be the second in line to take over that office, need be, in a situational basis, I guess. So those are all of Kamala's first. She's checking off all the things, all the historical first, and it's really just, it's amazing. So shout out to her, man.
Cheers, baby. We love you. I also just want to comment and say that in Joe Biden's speech, he was the first president-elect to mention trans people in his speech and disabled people in his speech. Inclusivity is really a goal of this administration, and I just think we need to respect that and honor that and appreciate that.
Yes, inclusivity is so important. And to be honest, yo, this is the first time hearing his acceptance speech was the first time I ever heard, maybe not the first time I ever heard, but I think it's the first time I've ever heard a president-elect mention tribes in America. I've never heard Donald Trump say the word tribe. I don't even know if I've ever heard him say indigenous people.
I think Donald Trump can be an exception for really any sort of inclusivity or unity. It's just not his. Even if you like him, you can admit that that's not his style. It's like he's not about shit like that.
Very true, but on that topic, just to link that in with you, to piggyback off of that, it was really cool. That just stood out to me when I heard him speak about indigenous people and tribes, and I'm like, damn, all of that, those words matter. That representation matters, and he's just so, Joe Biden is just so damn presidential, man.
It was honestly such a relief to just watch that. It's like I got this wave of just like warmth when I watching it, just being like, oh, I feel like one of those like abusive people who got out of it for the first time and heard like the way a president is supposed to speak, the way that the country is supposed to feel about each other and moving forward in progress and just doing better than we are.
Well, and on that topic, like, why don't you tell us, Nick, like, what are we dealing with now? Because that doesn't seem too bright and sunny.
Yeah, if you haven't heard, Donald Trump hasn't conceded the election yet, because he without any evidence of widespread voter fraud, he's claiming such, and is currently pursuing many legal battles, most, if not all, to no avail in terms of proving. Well, he's proved no voter fraud And now he's attacking the mail-in ballot counts that are being counted, that were counted after election day. Like in Pennsylvania, you could count up to 3 days after, and he's challenging that in court to hope, because since all mail-in ballots were mostly for Joe Biden, he's trying to discredit all of those votes. Which, even if they were, I believe it won't even affect the who won. So it's kind of just him trying to discredit the institution of our elections, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, it seems like what he's doing right now is really embarrassing for not only him, but the state of the Republican Party after him. And just like even the state of American politics, if you can sink us down even deeper, people have to be watching this on the outside like, man, I wonder what's about to happen. And that makes us look hella stupid.
Well, I mean, totalitarian governments all around are using this to talk about the chaos in America, and they're using it to undermine the idea of democracy. So it is really dangerous in terms of how world leaders who want to sow discord among American democracy can frame it in terms of what Donald Trump is doing. And he doesn't give a fuck about what it appears like. He just wants to win and never concede and look like he's fighting, I guess, for. And then, like, to be real, there were 71 million people who staunchly believe all the things that he says and will back him. And now there are Republican senators who are humoring him and saying that he's allowed to. Bill Barr just came out yesterday saying that the Department of Justice is allowed to investigate potential threats of widespread voter fraud, which there are none to be found. But even the head of the state of our law saying that that's able to be done with no evidence is really emboldening this claim in a way that I think is dangerous, because it's not. There's no founded evidence. If there was evidence, we could talk about it. But now we're just allowing a claim to be put out there that has no proof whatsoever.
Yeah, and all it's really doing is fueling negative optics, right? So even Barr's letter, him writing a letter like that does nothing more than let the Justice Department know what they are allowed to do if something were to occur. But the fact that those things aren't occurring, and he wrote that letter, makes that letter redundant and purposeless. And it's just all about optics and making it seem like there are official moves being made that have some sort of effect, but it's all been to the contrary. Actually, none of his moves thus far have had any real impact thus far, because they're all
Yeah,
unfounded.
right. I mean, exactly. It's like, until they've been, Kayleigh McEnany the other day was claiming that the Democrats are encouraging fraud in elections, which is completely untrue. All these things that are just being thrown out there because of this opinion about individual cases of possible voter discrepancies, which most of the time when they're followed through lead to nothing, or individual like mishandlings or confusion that is no proof of a widespread attempt, is being used to kind of challenge the idea that this whole election is irrelevant, which
Well,
is.
and honestly, shout out to Fox News for cutting her off in the moment and being like, what we're not gonna do is let her go on with these unfounded claims. Like, so that's the thing, is like when you have Fox News, his side, his source being the one to be like, all right, like, we can ride this train to a certain extent, but if you we can't just let you spew untruths to the American people. To see that little bit of dignity, I guess is the right word. It's kind of cool, man. It's kind of cool.
Well, there's a lot of internal talk about Fox News trying to prepare itself for the aftermath of the Donald Trump presidency. But then in the same breath, later that night, Tucker Carlson gets on TV and claims that what Brett Baer did, which was stop Kayleigh McEnany from lying on live TV, was that a form of communism where no thoughts allowed. And it's like, sticking to the facts is not communism. Like,
Tucker Carlson is not a real boy.
rumor has it he's one of the people at top line for 2024 or beyond.
That is disgusting, man.
What I think, the American politics is turning into is like a about face of the personality of the person running for president, rather than the actual platforms of like even the switch. Like, we thought we were going to win Texas by a lot more, but Trump won all of the districts by the border because all those people were kind of encouraged by his rhetoric, and there are real issues at the border, and this machismo feeling, and the Cubans, and all this idea of like the personality of Trump is what drew a lot of people even more to him this time in 2020 than 2016. And it's a personality. And now it's like, if people care more about that than the actual policies and running of government.
Well, yeah, that's why you have people who actually voted for Kanye West.
Right. I mean, it's a reflection on the state of what we value, and we've talked about this even on your on one the other day, like about if you
About
have
how
a
we don't buy into celebrity politics.
yeah, I mean, there used to be a respecting of people who are educated, who are trained in these subjects to be able to do the work for them, rather than just someone who can make it flashy and exciting and hit a bullet point that a good PR move that makes you feel good, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, I mean, the only thing I worry about right now is that there are still legal situations that can be moved forward by the Donald Trump presidency if he refuses to concede further and further. So if this comes to the electors vote on December 14th, I believe, and in 18, I think 70 something, there was a situation where the opposing party that refused to concede sent electors from both parties. When they couldn't decide of what electors were real electors, then it had to go to Congress. So potentially Congress could decide this election if Donald Trump keeps pulling shenanigans. And that has nothing to do with the votes. It's up to the individual legislatures from each state, which doesn't necessarily go into the Democrats' favor. So because there are still legal ways that he can fuck up this whole thing up for us, potentially. I don't think it will happen, but as I said, I just don't think we should be complacent yet.
Well, I think it's important to call that what it is as well, then, right? I think it's important to say that there are still ways that there are people out there who are willing to completely and totally flip democracy on its ass for the sake of a Donald Trump second term. So that's really scary. And that really, the potential for that is still out there. So it's important to always, like we say, stay informed and stay on top of things as we watch it play out.
Yeah. But, basically anyone who's in the know, especially with these legal challenges, like they're just getting thrown out. So I think the shit's gonna hit the fan soon enough, or the ball's gonna drop, or what's the saying? There's some saying there that I think we're gonna be fine.
I think the cow's gonna milk itself soon.
Oh. Yeah, whatever that is, I think it's gonna be okay. But I mean, it's gonna be a bumpy ride, I think, for the next 2 months.
Yeah, it's not over. It's not over yet. And like, I mean, I think that the nervousness that we have about it is exactly what he wants. Like he's just putting on a big show is basically what it is. It's like he's gonna put on a show until he's not able to put on a show anymore in January. And he's gonna have tons of people in the Republican Party like semi support that and like kind of like softball support him through this weird ass process. If you were expecting an easy transition of power, then like you were definitely fooling yourself. It's going to be an interesting turn of events for sure.
Just one final thing though. I mean, Trump is trying to raise money for this quote unquote legal defense. And in fine print, when you donate to him, it says it also could just go to paying past debts. Like,
yeah, specifically his campaign debts from this past campaign.
Yeah. So like, it just is a cherry on top of this whole con that he's put on this country of making people feel emboldened and angry about an idea and then using it to get personal gain. So,
yeah, like I'm gonna make it look like I'm fighting this great fight for you, but really you're just paying for my election loss. So thanks.
Yeah.
Paying for the Four Seasons. What was it called?
The Four Seasons landscaping company.
Yo, that's what y'all are paying for right now. Listen, I don't make fun of people frequently, but if you donate to the Trump campaign right now, just know you're donating to the Four Seasons landscaping company.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, Donald Trump's campaign made an announcement from what they said was the Four Seasons Hotel. And it turned out they accidentally booked the Four Seasons landscaping company next to a dildo shop.
And that right there is why I do not fear Rudy Giuliani.
It's hogwash, really. It's
and then, man, the gall that it takes to actually follow through with that and not say, hey, I don't think this is the right Four Seasons.
If you thought they had shame, then you're sorely mistaken.
Absolutely.
So yeah, congratulations to President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris on their historic win and stay strong. And we all got to keep fighting for January 20th to be
Stay
inaugurated.
strong, keep fighting, and we cannot wait until Inauguration Day.
Seriously.
Yeah. So that is the state of politics in America as it is right now. That's where it's at. That's where it's going to be probably for the next 60 something days.
Yeah, as we said in our last podcast, it's a long game. You know what I mean? Like, this is advice for myself too, but like, try to stay off of politics as much as you can. Take a bath, listen to some music, and let itself play itself out.
Think about it this way: 2 months. We also have Christmas and Thanksgiving to distract ourselves. So like, that's a thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Distract yourself with good vibes anyway.
Yeah, always.
Yo, so we're gonna jump into our cultural review, and as I stated at the top of the show, this week's cultural review is very near and dear to both of our hearts, as we are born and bred theater boys through and through. We are going to discuss the state of live theater in the age of COVID-19.
Yeah, we're gonna give you a little bit of why live theater is important, kind of what's happened to it with the pandemic, and just what the possible future is, and if and when and how it might change.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the thing that pops out to me first and foremost is like, theater itself is such a luxury and almost sort of an elitist sort of experience. You know, it's a almost elitist luxury that has also been swept away during the age of COVID-19. Not since 9/11 has Broadway gone dark, and by gone dark, that just means that the theaters are not up and operating at the moment. Those actors do not have jobs at the moment. Those performers do not have jobs at the moment. Those electricians and those tech people do not have jobs at the moment. And as frivolous as it can seem to some people, this is an entire industry full of performers and creatives and hard workers who have been even more sidelined than they already are working in the arts industry because of COVID.
Yeah, I think what I want to get clear is that how important theater is to our society as a culture. I mean, from the get-go, when we were, kind of early humanoids out of fire, telling stories in any type of way was the beginning of our culture, was the beginning of how we were able to look back at ourselves and observe and understand kind of how we think, why we do what we do. Myths and legends, are in the Bible. These ideas of how we view ourselves as society and how we move ourselves forward in society is so important for us as a population. So it is, and theater performers that I know are just some of the most dedicated, Unitarian type of people who spend so much time doing work for free. Normally, even outside of the pandemic, they're working for free. They're so integral to our society. So
it's a very real realization to think about the fact that those performers have no clue when they're going back to work. We have no clue when theaters will be up and running and everybody's able to start making money again. Like, yes, theater is a career of passion. Trust me, if you don't love this, you won't be doing it. That's just how it goes. But it is also very much a business. And I think about how much Broadway provides to the New York economy. I think about how much the West End provides to the London economy. And no one knows when Broadway is back. No one knows when live theater is going to be up and running again. So it's a lot.
And it's not just New York. It's every national tour that travels around the country and shares Broadway caliber shows with the whole country. It's cruise ships. It's every live performer that works on cruise ships. And just
it's smaller theaters. It's regional theaters.
It's comedians. It's all of our entertainment, and especially with quarantine, we're all inside, and a lot of these people have tried to do free theater on Zoom, but like, so far it doesn't, it's not easy to get paid for stuff like that. So everyone's just grasping to do what they love to do, but our world is really making it difficult to do. And Broadway isn't opening until I think July 2021 or something as such. I mean, who knows even, what that's going to happen. Good news. I mean, with the vaccine possible coming out soon, I mean, stuff could change, but I don't know how long it's going to be for people to feel comfortable being in a crowded room for 3 hours next to, with 100,000 people, or not that many people, but
What theater are you
10,000s of
working in,
people.
Nick?
It's at the Hollywood Bowl.
No, catch me open tonight at the Hollywood Bowl, baby.
See my production of Medea.
Tyler Perry's Medea.
Oh my God.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
no. But honestly, man, like, and then you have to think about how do theaters have to regulate and operate after that? Are you taking out every 2 seats to make space in between people? Theater is created to be an intimate experience. It always has been. And I imagine how at certain matinees there are already smaller crowds or whatever. And when you add social distancing to that and you limit the crowds even further, what are those actors and performers gonna look at? What are they gonna be looking out at when they look into the audience? And again, I know that some of this can seem very frivolous to some people, but for a lot of people, this is career and this is passion, so it does matter. I myself have done a Zoom play or two since this quarantine has started. I will say, I guess it's at least pushing artists to, I guess, explore their creative depths even further. When you're so limited, you have no choice but to. I saw a recent production that Tim Curry himself actually put on of Rocky Horror that was done through Zoom, and that was very interesting to see. Rocky Horror, which is a show that's all about call and response and being involved in that intimate room and being a part of the moment. It was very interesting to see it through Zoom, and it was definitely different for sure.
I'm happy that people are finding things to do. Live performers are finding opportunities on Zoom, but it's no comparison to being in a theater with the energy. And I've even done acting classes on Zoom, and I find it to be very not sufficient for what you look for when you're trying to do live theater. And let's be clear, theater was struggling to survive even before this pandemic. Sales, that's why Broadway is so expensive, because it's so hard to maintain, it's so hard to fund and get people to come and pay the actors a living wage and pay all the technical performers and all these people who work inside of the business. So I worry about how to get that back when it's even less likely people want to come, even if they do want to come, based on just PTSD of the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. You just wonder, in the same way that you wonder what's going to happen to small business, you wonder what's going to happen to theater and like the funding, and will the grants be there for people to just bounce back like most small businesses will? Like you said, the funding for arts has already been slashed so much across the country so frequently that in that mind frame, there are places where you can donate to the performing community, mainly the Actors Fund, which was founded long ago. It's basically just a human services organizations, basically mainly for performers, just as emergency relief funds. So if you're looking for a place to donate and support actors and performers in the meantime, definitely check out what the Actors Fund has going on. I do believe they are finding ways to channel emergency COVID assistance to some of the performers out there. So definitely, when you get a chance, take a look into that to see how you can support your artistic community.
Yeah, if you ever grew up as a theater kid in high school at all, you'll know that funding was never available for it. They always cared about sports. I mean, look what happened when the pandemic happened. The second things went down, every single person, including the president, was like, we need sports back. We need sports. Where are the sports? People need to go to sports events.
I need a sport. I want to go to Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah, I need to watch my team do this. And I want to go to and people have started tailgating in the parking lots, during COVID, to watch on their phones or TVs or whatever the sports events that we're not allowed in. So it's like we validate a certain type of entertainment much more than another one. And I mean, listen, I have nothing against sports per se, but I also think this theater is just as important, and it's been forgotten. This is like everything in COVID. The underprivileged are getting a worse off result during COVID that were already struggling beforehand. Just like underprivileged communities are struggling more in COVID than say non-so. So I think it's important to give that support, whether it be emotional or even a better so financial, for the communities that do so much to help just us be better people 24/7, and give us entertainment, whether you're in New York or not, you're benefiting from it. All these performers that you see on TV and film are theater babies at heart. Very few of them are only film people. They all come from a theater background. So this is something that is driving the cultural change in our world, in our society, and America should step up and actually support it.
100%. Support your theater artists. Support your theater artists.
And like if wherever you are, look into your local theater, see what they're doing. Everyone is getting really inventive nowadays. Whether it is pay what you can, Zoom performances, or, small outdoor events that people are doing here and there. And things are starting to get back slowly but surely where stuff is happening. So pay attention and maybe use this opportunity to make a new habit of looking into live performance wherever you are.
If you're a person who doesn't like necessarily going to sit in a theater next to tons of people and seeing live performances, then now is your time to shine. There are tons of online performances that you can check out. Performances, that even still happen on stage in COVID-19 friendly ways, I guess. So yeah, just check out what your local theater has going on and make sure you're supporting your local artists. For sure.
Yeah, support the arts, man.
Yeah, dude, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yo, so we rounded off to our favorite portion of the show. Nick and I get to tell you guys and share with you what we are on one about this week. So you know what? Let me just take the helm here. I will open up with what I'm on one about this week because I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. This won't take long. So I'm just on one about the amount of fear mongering that I've seen across all media platforms. Right now, I'm someone who identifies as a Democrat. I'm someone who believes in progressive views. But that means that I like to think in a universal way as well, right? And I will say every news outlet that I've watched during the election coverage, from MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, the only source of calm that I found was with the Associated Press, I believe. And that's just because they kind of focused on straight facts and there was little opinion going on, or not that I was subscribed to anyway. So I'm on one about the amount of fear mongering that goes on with these news networks when they're giving you state by state rundowns and bringing out their large maps and telling you that if 5 more people show up in this county, then it's doomsday for everyone, and just the extremeness. The extremeness that goes on both sides, on all sorts of media. I'm just over it. I've had, outside of what you should pay attention to in the news, I've had real conversations this week with people who don't find themselves or identify on the same side of the political spectrum as I do. And I've had multiple conversations about how people are just tired. Right. And what that says to me is that on both sides, there's a unison feeling of people being exhausted of politics, of people being exhausted of extremism, of people being exhausted of fear mongering, and people just want unison and harmony. And people actually want to not think about this shit so hard. Right. And so I've had to find all the ways to block out all of the extremeness that goes on the right side and on the left side, and find that perfect median for myself that's really based in fact, that's really based in logic, and ultimately that's based in what's real. Because if you buy into what either side is feeding you and telling you what you should believe, you will be the most stressed and most tense person there is throughout this whole process. And I've managed to find my happy place by avoiding all of the fear mongering extremism. And I've started having real conversations with real people. And then I'm here to tell you it's much more effective. It's much more effective for your heart, for your soul. So I implore you to watch one less YouTube video this week and have one more real conversation. Trust me, you will be thankful for that.
Yeah, I think that definitely the biggest takeaway is just get off social media, man. It's designed to excite you in all the ways. Anger, happy, upset, fear, joy, whatever it is. That is so pervasive because it's an algorithm that is 10 billion something times smarter than you are, that is training you to go deeper and deeper into whatever you're looking into. That's going to keep you there longer. So just be aware of that, and these news media outlets, the mainstream media on all fronts are following in that footstep because they want to stay relevant. So it's a shift that the whole world is taking in terms of the information that we digest and take in. So the more you can be conscious of that, and yeah, it's such a great thing to say, just to talk to people and individualize it, so you stop categorizing these opinions into tribalistic ideas about what the world is like.
Yeah, stop forming ideas of what you think people are like and what you think people believe in, and have real conversations. And what you discover is that you're a lot closer and a lot more similar than you think. And once you find that common ground, it becomes much easier to move forward. So believe in people, stop believing in politics, and just talk to each other, you guys.
You just said stop believing in politics.
And the crazy part is, like, I meant what I said.
It's not real.
It's not real, you guys. So Nick, why don't you share with us? Why don't you share with everyone what you're on one about this week?
It's funny because your on one is similar to my on one. I think what hit me the hardest with this election was just how many people not only still voted for Trump, but the increase of people that voted for Trump. He actually gained ground in all areas, in every single place. Like, Joe Biden got more people to vote for him, but Donald Trump actually increased his margins on all fronts. And I had this kind of moment of sadness and confusion, because again, it's, if you're, you pay, I do kind of get a broad stream of media, but again, as we all know, the polls were so wrong, to the point of like 9 or 10 points off. They said he was going to win Pennsylvania by like 7 points, and it's like barely a point. So it's like this kind of discrepancy for what's going on in these, I really think it's a cultural war that we're having. And I really think mostly it's an urban versus rural war. And I had this moment during the election when I was sitting there and I was thinking, like, how could this happen? I put myself in the position of someone who lives in these quote unquote flyover states, and, they live in a small town or community, and they're surrounded by people who only think like them, who are so disconnected from the city life that we live, and they all they know about, the left and the progressive side is what they see on TV. So they're like, oh, now I have to worry about these pronouns, that what it was, I don't know anyone who has a pronoun, and now I can't say this, or I'm racist, and I can't think this way, and I work at a oil industry founded job, and now that's going to be taken away by these people who want to change the way their whole way of living is being shown to them, that it's going to be completely changed, and that the way they're living is wrong. And in that moment, I had this kind of realization of, yeah, I'm sure if I was surrounded by everyone who thought the exact same thing as me, and would have this kind of idea of what was out there, I would completely not believe any of it. I would be distrustful of all these Democrats who have never done anything for me personally and are telling me that the way I live is completely wrong in every single way, and I would feel really isolated from the rest of this movement that is happening, in the world and culture. And I can see myself understanding where that's coming from. So I think what I'm on one about is, how do we make this conversation more inclusive? How do we make it approachable? And how do we bring everyone with us, because I think that's the problem we're seeing is Donald Trump actually reached out to these people and then weaponized these belief systems in a way that made us the enemy, when that's not the point of it, and we've missed something here. The Democrats have missed something. And I personally don't identify as a Democrat. I identify as an independent who votes with Democrats, mostly because I am a left-leaning progressive. But in terms of just being able to communicate, I think is the biggest issue here, and actually reach out. I mean, I think it is true that the Democrats don't reach out appropriately. We lost in, Southern Florida and Southern Texas to voters that we had before, because Donald Trump made that space to go in and convince them otherwise, because there was no one there to defend us. So I really think there's so much more work to be done, and this election really proved that to me. And we have to find a different way of communicating than we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important, and I think that's why our own ones tie in, because it's all about communication and having real conversations with people. Because I will say, even those people that have a certain set of beliefs because they come from a certain area and they only know what's around them. Like I understand that. Like again, I'm from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It doesn't really get much more deep south than that, and there are a lot of pockets there where people believe what they know and what they've grown up around only. The only thing I have to say in opposition to that, I guess, would be is that these places, these pockets of America, are not unreachable pockets of people that live in the Amazon. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like these are groups of people who have all the means and access to learn about those around them, to learn about what people around them are dealing with, and to ultimately step outside of their own experience, which is what this should all be about. Like creating a better America should not be about your experience alone, and it should be about a shared experience for all of us going forward. It should be about a common shared mutual experience that feels good for everyone, which I know is asking a lot. so yeah, our own ones do tie in, and I think the bottom line to both of them is like even with the missed opportunities with the Democrats, like have conversations with people where you feel like you don't need to or you haven't wanted to before, and reach out, reach across where the limits of what you believe in and who you believe in, to have those conversations.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I just think like I'm not living in Arizona. I'm not living in, I don't know, Oklahoma or anything. So it's like all the people who think like me live by me, who've moved from Oklahoma. So and then Mississippi is a good example. I know that, but I just I don't know how we integrate the day-to-day living of culture when it seems to be so kind of fragmented in terms of experience.
Yeah, it's a fine line, and ultimately lies in mutual shared experience, which again requires real conversations with real people.
Yeah. I guess I wonder if that's like a democratic messaging system, like this kind of embracing the extreme left in a lot of ways, which is, again, is not things that I don't believe in or agree with in terms of breaking it down, but in terms of being able for these people to find an approachable way to get into the conversation too. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of alienation for those who don't
Yeah.
think exactly like you to be able to educate and explain, or
Well, that's what I was going to say. I definitely don't think that the answer involves isolating those people, because what I hope from the next 4 years that didn't happen these past 4 years is that I hope there is more of bringing people into the fold who didn't necessarily agree with this decision. I don't want 4 more years of divisiveness across the board. Like, I have felt very alienated from politics for the last 4 years. I don't feel that I've been considered or thought about or have been the obligation to people, but I don't want to now turn my back on millions of people who voted opposite of me just because they didn't get the same outcome, and I'm somehow like the winner of that situation. I don't. I'm moving. I'm just all about moving more away from divisiveness and more toward communication, more and more.
Yeah, let's hopeful. I mean, I'm very hopeful that, when Joe Biden is inaugurated on January 20th, that, and already he's showing what it looks like to have a functional government by just, the task force for COVID he put together in his transition team. It's like, I think what I'm hoping that Joe Biden really does well to show what government can do for everyone and not just for the people who vote for him. And hopefully
Exactly.
kind of just, like cool the temperature a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's okay if we don't agree. That's the other thing. It's like, not that I'm saying everyone has to agree with my way of living or my way of thought. I don't.
That's not even what I want. That's a bit
Right.
scary to me.
It's the ability to be able to have a conversation, the ability to be able to, understand. And if you still disagree, great, but also be able to live amongst each other and not think the other one is a threat to your way of living. Absolutely.
It's the ability to coexist. And that's in our human nature. We have it inside of us. It's just a choice. That's all,
I have to push back on that a little bit. I don't think our way of nature is actually coexisting. I mean, maybe spiritually, yes, but I think biologically, our way of living, which is being hacked by all this, aggressive media, extremist media, is tribalism. You know what I mean? That's where it comes
it's survival. Survival is the real way of living.
Yeah. So it's like we have these opposing forces in our brains of biological fight or flight and the spiritual unification of each other. So it's like we have to kind of fight for the higher self inside of all of us.
Yeah, man, fight for the higher self inside of all of us. That's it.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right, so look, as always, if you guys have made it this far into the episode, Nick and I would like to thank you for sticking with us on what is now the 4th or 5th episode of Routine Progress. If you guys need any informational resources from anything that we discussed today, you will be able to find those sources in the description box below.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you are enjoying our content, please like, comment, and subscribe across all platforms you're listening on or watching on. And now, if you'd like to donate to us, support us financially, there's a link in our bio and in our description below. So we would really appreciate any small amount you could give to a self-funded podcast here. And if you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to discuss, please email us at routineprogresspod@gmail.com.
Yo, that's it. So as we always say, stay informed
and stay freaking real.
Stay freaking real, me.
Okay. Bye, 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 bye.
We don't want to be a fool for you.
I'm doing this tonight.
Yeah.
Start a fight. Yeah. No, don't start a fight.
Hey, baby, come on.
But don't start a fight. Okay.
But drink, don't start a fight.
Yeah, drink not. Well, I don't know if they go together. Drinking usually starts good.
Celebrate good times.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
We just flipped the White House.
Yeah. Talk to me on January 20th, honestly.